Welcome, wrestling fans. Welcome to Curtain Jerkin. As always, I'm your host, Jacob Grondy, reporting for the Main Event Marks YouTube channel. You can also check me out on Spotify, however you're listening to my voice. I appreciate it. It was a big weekend in wrestling last weekend. Of course, the Vince McMahon allegations are like a dark cloud over the whole industry. But of course, it was the Royal Rumble as well. So it was like a weekend of celebration mixed with this dark cloud over top, where I feel like, WWE, NXT, and AEW kind of represent this turning of the page that we've experienced the last 5 to 10 years in our industry, going away from things that Vince McMahon was kind of heavily involved with or in charge of. I know obviously NXT is under the WWE umbrella, but it was kind of always like Hunter's baby. So I feel like these two things we're going to talk about today kind of shift away from the negativity. If you want to listen to a bit of my opinion on that negativity, on those allegations, you can listen to the last episode. I do talk about the Rumble, I talk about Raw, I talk about SmackDown, and then I go on a little bit of a rant. I didn't even mean to do that. That was all off the cuff what I was thinking. But check that out. But if you want to talk about WWE NXT, this is your spot here. The Dusty Classic, LWO versus Trick and Carmelo. This to me was my finals. You know how you watch like the Ravens and the Chiefs in the NFL and you're like, okay, whoever wins this game is probably going to win the Super Bowl. And then right here, whoever wins this matchup here, LWO versus Trick and Carmelo, is probably going to win the Dusty Classic in my opinion. Love this tournament. LWO are great. They kind of get covered up a little bit on SmackDown, but when you get them on NXT, they kind of show off a bit. I love that. Trick hits 2 rock bottoms at the same damn time. Trick knee, 1, 2, 3. Solid match. Obi Femi attacks LWO, and then Dragon Lee comes out to help Obi Femi take out a 3-on-1 attack. Like getting the better of 3 men as they all attack him at one time. I think they got a star here with Obi Femi. He can't really talk just yet, but you don't really need a monster like that talking. And I feel like Braun Strowman didn't really work out. He's kind of aging rapidly, or they're not really using him. Omos didn't really work out, and you got, Brock Lesnar may never be seen again. So you got to build somebody, and Obi Femi might fit that hole. I mean, Veer maybe as well, but I think right here in NXT, I think they're hitching their wagon to Obi Femi, taking out all of the LWO at one time. We also saw Trick Williams out there with the champion, with Ilya Dragunov. Ilya. I know. I love the guy. Can I pronounce his name? Hell no. He was out there. A bit of a promo battle. Tension building, but keeping respect with this world title match looming this weekend. Baron Corbin and Braun Baker come out and attack them, and then Carmelo comes out to even the odds. This is pretty interesting. They're building to put the rocket on Trick here, winning the Dusty Classic and winning the title in the same night. We're going to get to our predictions a little later, but I think that, it seems like there's a lot of people here to help build Trick Williams, and he's got the catchphrase, he's got the size, he passes the airport test, as they say, so why not? See what happens. We also had a lot of NXT women's division here. I feel like, not a lot is talked about the NXT women's division, what they've done for the current roster on SmackDown and Raw, and they spent a lot of time on the show showcasing the women, more so than any other wrestling program, I would say, other than, like Stardom or something that is exclusively women. Roxanne Perez and Tatum Paxley. Paxley's creepy ass attacked Roxanne last week. Roxanne gets the win, and Paxley attacks her again after the match. Roxanne getting the better of her yet again, but then the champ pulls her off her friend Paxley, and then we get the stare down before the title match on Vengeance Day. You gotta love it. We also had Lola Vice versus Elektra Lopez, once a team, now enemies. Lola Vice gets the victory, and this is a good example here of like two ladies who don't really have much going for them. They make a team, they split them up, they do kind of the bare bones feud here, but it's pretty interesting. because it's a little bit of a story. You just need a little bit of a story, and it helps push, matches along. JC Jane, she's out there, and she saves Chase U by introducing the Ladies of Chase U calendar. And out come, some PC standouts, if you will. Chase is excited. Chase says she's officially in Chase U, so she had this great idea to be put into Chase U and to save them from this debt. But you got to think the whole time, what's stopping them from just kicking Chase out of Chase U? I mean, he put them into debt. Who would you believe is the stronger leader here between them two? I would say JC Jane, because she had the idea to get out of debt, and she had the idea of having this calendar. I can't believe I'm breaking down this storyline so much, but I do think there's going to be a split between Chase U and this JC Jane faction within Chase U. That's not all the ladies we saw. We saw Fallon Henley versus Ariana Grace. Lash Legend comes out, attacks Henley, and Grace gets the victory. She's celebrating like she did some shit, but she didn't do anything. Metaphor sticking their nose in a match that wasn't theirs. Henley will not take this lightly, but that's not all we saw of Metaphor this week. Noam Dar versus Von Wagner in a Heritage Cup Championship rules match. This is when Henley attacked Lash Legend, and they four ladies brawl to the back. Round 4, Noam Dar is up 1-0, and Noam Dar rolls up Wagner 1-2-3. He gets the win in the Heritage Cup match here. Ridge Holland versus Lexis King. Gallus comes out and attacks Holland. Lexis King able to take advantage with a lariat and getting the 1-2-3. And then we're going to go into Vengeance Day predictions here. I'm excited about this. Last year at this time, Vengeance Day was in my home state, and I didn't care about NXT at the time. I had to say, it had the stench of the when they changed from yellow black to that, the all colored, multicolored thing. I wasn't really feeling NXT for a while, but then I kept hearing how much better it was. I tune in just to catch a little bit of it, just to see the main roster stars. The next thing you know, I'm hooked. So what they're doing down in NXT is great. It's great. So I pulled up the predictions here. This is real-time predictions as I'm stalling here, obviously, to have it ready for you. But here we go. When it comes to the Dusty Cup, I would have to give it to Trick and Hayes. But then you have Corbin and Braun Breaker, who could be a bit of sore losers. I think they're going to attack Trick and Hayes, setting up for Trick to be injured for his next match for the World Championship. We also have the Family versus Out the Mud. I would give it to Out the Mud because D'Angelo has been around NXT for so long. It's kind of shit or get off the pot time with him, and I think they're just going to kind of, I don't know what you would do in that scenario, stop pushing him as much and push Out the Mud, the newer faction. Obi Femi versus Dragon Lee. I think Obi Femi should win this one and continue his momentum on NXT, while Dragon Lee kind of goes over to the main roster full time. Lyra Valkyrie versus Roxanne Perez. Put the title on Perez. That's what they should do. Then the main event, Ilya Dragunov versus Trick Williams. I think Trick doesn't need to win the title. He's already over. You can get him over with the hardcore fans by just having him go toe-to-toe with Dragunov. But then, that being said, if they don't put the title on Trick here, I can see the crowd turning on Dragunov. I can see the crowd turning on the whole promotion because they want Trick. They want to chant, whoop that Trick. They want him to hold the title. That's the guy they picked. So I would have this be Trick Williams' crowning moment here. So I am saying there should be a new champ on Sunday. It should be Trick Williams. You can always bring Dragunov to the main roster. He's main roster ready. Have him be in the faction with Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. Do something with him, but I think he's ready to go up. He's had the title for a long time now. And then you can end the show, send the crowd home happy, all chanting, whoop that Trick. Whoop that Trick. Oh, I love it, man. I love it. I love it almost as Booker T loves it. But let's go over to AEW Dynamite, going over some matches. They're all getting ready for, March 3rd, Revolution in the Greensboro Coliseum. I will be in attendance for Sting's last match, but they're also hyping up Phoenix, Arizona next week. Moxley versus Jeff Hardy. Mox puts a pin into Hardy's ear gauge and twists it. That looked rough. I've seen that spot before. They did that in WWE with a screwdriver, I think, but it looks rough every time. Jeff hits not one but two twists of fate. Swanton, no one home. Mox locks in a choke. Jeff gets choked out. Mox wins. I thought this was a great pairing here. I was mentioning it on X or Twitter or what have you, that two guys with mainstream appeal that you don't know what they're going to do next is definitely, if people do flip through channels like they used to, they would probably stop there and catch that. But Jeff does not shake Mox's hand. Second week in a row, he is a bit of a sore loser, not gracious in defeat. And then Mox kind of looks over, and there's the stars of CMLL. Hirichiro, I don't know this one guy. I got to admit, he's wrestling Mox next week. I don't know who the hell he is. Mystico, Valador Jr., and Masquerade Dorada. I know who all those three guys are. I don't know why he wouldn't be wrestling one of those three guys. Those guys, I think, are bigger stars. Who knows? They jump the rail. They attack Moxley. Blackpool Combat Club members aren't there other than Mox. AEW guys clear the ring. I think they got like a 2.0, Danielson and Seidel. So that might be like some 8-man tag they're setting up in Mexico, because those are kind of stars. Like, you know, they've all been in the WWE for various points, and they all kind of have mainstream appeal. They're smaller guys that can do the lucha style. So those would be 4 guys I would send to Mexico. CMLL and New Japan have had a deal for years, for decades it seems like. So now I think that deal is just extended into AEW. So you have, like, you know, a group in Mexico, a group in Japan, and then the group with, you know, in America with AEW. That might hurt their partnership with AAA. So like Vikingo and Commander might not show up as much. But we all have to see what happens here. The partnership seems to be putting the AEW locker room on notice already. Hangman Page versus Teo Leona of, you know, the Mogul Embassy. Big opportunity for the big man here. Hangman Page can't pick him up, but he can connect with a lariat. Teo lands a senton on the apron, sending Hangman to the outside. Then he goes for a moonsault off the apron. No one home. Hangman then climbs to the top turnbuckle, hits a moonsault of his own, gets him in the ring. 1, 2, 3. Hangman Page gets the victory. That was a good match. Wardlow versus Commander. Not as good of a match. Undisputed Kingdom at ringside. Launches Commander in the air. And then he just starts flexing. He sees himself on the big screen. He's loving it. Commander gets room. Tightrope drop kick. Phoenix splash lands right on Wardlow's face here with the Phoenix splash. This was kind of foreshadowing here of like maybe some mistimed maneuvers, mistiming between these two guys. Wardlow slams him. It looks like he injured his knee a little bit with his powerbomb. Wardlow limping around during the last few seconds of this match, and limping around during the beatdown, not taking part of this beatdown, leaning on the ropes, seems frustrated before Orange Cassidy comes out and makes the save with Commander. But the story leaving this match here has got to be, what the fuck is up with Wardlow? Sting and Darby sit down with Ricky Starks and Big Bill. Tony Schiavone sitting in between them. Good segment here. I think they're putting the titles on Sting and Darby for them to drop it to the Bucks on March 3rd. That's just how I see it here. I don't know. Kyle Fletcher versus Chris Jericho. Callis family getting involved. Fletcher kind of going for it, going toe-to-toe with Le Champion, with Y2J, with the legend. Goes for a dive. Jericho catches him with a Judas effect while he's diving through the ropes to the outside. Hits a Judas effect off the top rope. 1, 2, 3. No one booing Jericho here, which I think is something to note. In fact, they were giving him a standing ovation here for a great match. Takeshita even comes down the ramp looking wild. Leather jacket, big baggy sweatpants. I don't know. Like, he just had literally like 2 articles of clothing on, and he looked like the coolest dude in the room. Like, just, it was wild. Wild to see. And the Bang Bang Scissor Gang come out. The faction is over, but they need to start beefing with Undisputed Kingdom. Didn't they come together to go after the Undisputed Kingdom, because Undisputed Kingdom attacked all of them when they were still like the devil dickheads? But now Undisputed Kingdom is beefing with Cassidy for whatever reason. So the crowd loves it. The crowd loves what they're doing here. They're kind of just stalling in the ring, kind of being the faction, being the DX, the NWO, the Bullet Club, kind of a thing. But I mean, what's going to happen here? Undisputed Kingdom seem to be, they got one guy in a wheelchair, they got one guy limping around. Why didn't you pull the trigger on this feud when you could have? What are you doing stalling with it? Do you remember that was the feud? Am I sitting here watching a story, or am I sitting here watching just a string of ridiculous events meant to just get claps from a crowd? I don't know. It's pro wrestling. Deonna Purrazzo versus Taya Valkyrie. At one time, these two ladies were considered like top two, I would say, in like North America. NXT both fumbled the ball with these two ladies, in my opinion. And here they are on AEW. Timeless Tony Storm on commentary. Deonna throws Taya into Tony at one point, and then like locks in this wild ass submission, like pulling her shoulder blades together while sitting on her. Wild finish and staring down the champion. That match is going to be good whenever they do it. But then we have the main event. RVD versus Swerve Strickland. RVD, I would have announced this a little later. I would have made a bigger deal that RVD is going to be on your program here. But, they did what they did. Swerve counters the monkey flip into a powerbomb, slamming RVD onto a chair. Brian Cage comes out and throws RVD off the top. And then who comes out wearing a D12 shirt? Hook clocks Cage with a chair. Of course, he had the equalizer here, but this had to upset some people. You have a guy with the most impressive physique on the roster getting attacked by a guy who looks like he would be taken out by a few guys in the crowd. I know he had a chair at first, but he maybe should have carried that chair along with him, chasing Cage to the back with the chair, because he dropped the chair, and then you just have like the runt of the litter getting attacked by the machine, Brian Cage, and them going back and forth. It didn't visually look logistically correct. But Swerve mocks RVD as he's standing over top of him. RVD flicking him off. Big epic scene here to end the match. Boom, Swerve stomp, 1, 2, 3. Swerve beats RVD while Samoa Joe is at ringside. Hangman Page's music hits. He storms down to the ring. This feels like a big deal. I know Joe is just starting his title reign, but I would say this is a bigger deal than Joe having this title reign. If you've been watching AEW for the last year, this is what's been building. This is what has been on your mind. Hangman Page versus Swerve next week in Phoenix. You also have Darby versus Sting for the AEW tag team titles in Phoenix. So Phoenix is big. They're hyping up Phoenix. They want Phoenix to be big. Joe with the title. I know the winner of that match will wrestle Joe for the title. I think the winner of that match is going to take Joe's title. I think Joe is as great as he is a transitionary champion in 2024, and that ain't bad. I know in 2002 to like 2004, he had a great world title reign with Ring of Honor. 20 years later, he still is having world title reigns. You got to give it up for him. I love it. I love pro wrestling. Fly high. I'm out.